Representative Jasmine Crockett from Texas.
Oh.
Thank you so much, Madam Ranker, and thank you so much to our witnesses for being here today. You know, I've sat and I've listened, and what my colleague, Mr. Christian Morthy, just talked about was just blatant racism. Like, I'm gonna just call a thing a thing. Like, this administration is racist. That he has always been a racist, and that is what we are enduring in this country. Let me give you some facts behind this racism. And they get mad when I say the things that I say, but I will not stop speaking the truth. Number one, I said that what we were experiencing in this country felt like what I would imagine slave patrols to look like. And frankly, anybody that knows anything about slave patrols, this is exactly what it was like. We're talking.
I just think that's a stretch. Donald Trump could have been racist, but it was still rappers putting him in his songs, in their songs. After the Central Park Five, there were still black people going on The Apprentice. Now, I'm not saying that, oh, well, that excuses the fact of what he's passed policy, none of that shit. No. There's been racism out there, but I'm not ever going to the extent of saying that these were slave patrols. Because even if you go to the statutes in some of these states from the 1800s about the slave patrols and what they were able to do, that's not what this is. That's not what this is. That's a very far stretch, and I get it. But we have to highlight more than racism. We have to highlight actual policy. We have to educate people, not just on the impact of the policy, Social Security, Medicaid cuts, Medicare cuts. Cool. I get that. We talked about that. Obamacare, Affordable Care Act cuts. Okay, cool. The tax subsidies. But everything can't be racism. Because everybody's going to look at other people and feel like, you know what? They think I'm a racist, or they are racist. Right? And at the end of the day, I don't think that helps drive any kind of progressive strategy just by calling the other side racist. Continuously. I think we need a hot button say, hey, you know what? All right, cool. I said it 10 times last month. I'm not going to say that much, maybe twice. Right? I just can't see how everybody's racist. Sometimes it's policy. And we have to get into it and say, yes, here is the racial part of the policy, and here's exactly how it's racist. Because when you go to the policy itself, the policy doesn't say like it used to say N-word. I thought I was going to say it for real. It doesn't say K-N-double-E-Gro, right? Like it used to. It doesn't say Negroes, mulatto, black, mixed race. It doesn't say that like it used to. So this is a far-fetched.
Talking about lawless people that are going around with no warrants or anything, and it's all about rounding people up and disappearing them. That is what's currently taking place. And interestingly enough, even though modern day policing was born out of slave patrols, when I was speaking with one of my friends who is a federal law enforcement officer, he told me that one of the things that he has observed is that the culture is created at the top. And when I think about it, it absolutely makes sense. If you have somebody at the top that will not tolerate the types of things that we're seeing, then maybe those under you won't do it. But we know that we have a racist at the top. He has called himself the head law enforcement agent in this country, and therefore everybody has decided that it is okay to take off their hoods and mask up as ICE agents. Now, we've talked about.
I'm not saying Trump doesn't have racists in his cabinet or friends. They just had someone he nominated step out because his text messages leaked, and they said, okay, cool. Martin Luther King was a George Floyd of his time. He doesn't think we should have Juneteenth, Black History Month, or King Day. Look at Africa. That's how you know black people have problems. These are more the subhuman ideology of some folks. Yes, they're out there. I'm not saying there aren't racists out there. I'm just saying that we can't continue to make that the only excuse, especially if we're going to link the Klan and slave patrols. All right, cool. How do we clap back, Fred Hampton? How do we clap back, Malcolm X? How do we clap back in those times? It's not just going back to Africa. There has to be some kind of movement outside of protesting that's strategically like, okay, if this is what y'all gonna do, let's expose what the real impact is. The people in your state in Kentucky, and even for the racists, well, guess what? The trailer park trash, you drunk all the rest of it. That's why you just lost your Medicaid and your food stamps. What are we talking about? He's a troll. We need a troll, just not call him a racist. My 2 cents.
How they have hidden themselves. But again, it reminds me of the Klan. That is why I proposed the Clear ID Act, to make them identify themselves, because it is dangerous for law enforcement as well as individuals, because you don't know, especially with ICE going around and doing the things that thugs do. They're busting out windows. They're breaking into homes. They're breaking people's arms. This doesn't sound like law enforcement. It sounds like thuggery to me.
Clock it.
But just like you can have somebody at the top that sets the tone for ugliness going down, you guys are blessed, because in the city of Chicago, you have a mayor. You have a mayor that has decided that he will not back down. He will not bend to this administration. And instead, he will stand up for the people. You have a man of valor that is going up against a villain. And I think that we have to make sure, especially while we're in his city, that we recognize his leadership, because it is invaluable.
See, I pause there, because if this was an issue that made Chicago and the mayor stand up, what about the 50 other bodies and the 50 other mothers that had to bury their sons and daughters because of drive-by shootings, because of random reckless gun violence in the same city that the mayor was over? What happened to the 50 people that happened from the holiday before that? Or the 70 people collectively within a few weeks and months within the city? We can't sit here and be like, you know what, damn, this is great. You're standing up to Trump, but not looking at the underlying issues. Not being like, you know what, cool, if I promise to lower crime, if I promise better education, if I promise better roads, where are we at with that? Because the fact of the matter is, we can be for real, in our lifetime, the naysayers, have always looked at Chicago as a mecca of black crime and crime in America. Even Memphis, but Memphis has a Republican governor, and they're working together. And it has to get to a point of saying, you know what, cool, we can't turn the blind eye to all the crime that happens in Chicago and say, you know what, Trump, you wrong for sending the National Guard here. I'm not saying just immigration. I'm not saying just ICE. I'm saying from a fact of like, all right, cool, there's something happening here outside of the hot button new issue that we never look to address. So I hope that all the elected officials that decided to show up to Chicago and Illinois to praise the governor and praise the mayor for standing up to the Trump administration also find a way to find a solution for the underlying issues like education, third grade reading proficiency. How is it that Mississippi has gone from bottom 40 in reading, and all of a sudden their kids are top 6? I'm not knocking the kids in Mississippi. I love the Mississippi Miracle, but they got back to phonics. Is phonics an issue? Are these kids not able to read? Do they have mental health issues? Is it PTSD? Is it substance abuse? Were these kids touched by an angel as a child? And that's why they can't focus in school, and that's why they're acting out, and that's why they're joining the gangs, some kind of brotherhood, some sisterhood to get right. I mean, if we're going to go to Chicago and Illinois, respectfully, Democrats, let's create a new narrative. It can't just be racism. It can't just be anti-Trump. Because when I go to the grocery store, I can't go with racism and Trump to pay for shit. I can't go with racism and Trump to put gas in the car. I can't go with racism and Trump to do anything. It's a narrative that's like, you know what, damn, I got to blame inflation and tariffs and Trump and all of this for the issue. No, most people I believe are thinking, well, shit, regardless of this happening, I have to make ends meet. And if somebody's out here with a solution that can help me not only make ends meet, but put something stashed away for the side for a rainy day, that I can go build a ranch or some acreage or even a simple house, if I can get out of some debt and create a better opportunity for me, my kids, or whoever, then yeah, some people are looking for that. What people are not looking for is racism and attacks on Trump without a real solution, to be fair.
Now, some people think that this is all about Chicago, But I want people to understand that this cancer is infecting us everywhere. And if you don't think that it can come to your city, well, I've got news for you. You see, we've been talking about the cruel and unusual punishment that is in violation of the 8th Amendment that is being handed out. And honestly, it's a spit in the face of every American that we have an actual convicted felon that feels aggrieved to the extent that he feels like he's owed hundreds of millions of dollars when people are literally dying under our watch. Recently, I just sent a letter, it looks like on October 22nd, to Kristi Noem. And one of the things that I laid out is that we have seen the most detainee deaths in ICE custody in a single year in decades, with 20 deaths in the last 9 months compared to 24 deaths in the past prior 4 years. Now, this week, we learned that an individual who went to the Dallas ICE field office for a routine visit, meaning that they were doing things the quote unquote right way, they were detained. They knew that this individual had diabetes and required insulin every 2 hours. Despite ICE having been told this, the individual was denied access to their medication for 8 days, resulting in hospitalization.
That's crazy. And a lawsuit.
There are some that say that we are making America great. But to me, it doesn't feel like greatness. It feels like grossness. That's right. And in fact, I want to ask a few questions, and it doesn't matter who answers them. Is it great or gross to go into people's houses and drag them out in the middle of the night?
Oh, shit.
Gross.
Gross. It's gross.
Is it great or gross to make people afraid to do something as simple as go to school?
Gross.
Is it great or gross to make hard-working people say, I am too scared to show up to my job?
Gross.
That's gross, baby.
Thank you so much to each and every one of you for your courage. Thank you so much for showing up. And Miss O, I want to tell you that I understand that your mother is being detained in El Paso. I did go and visit that facility. I want you to know that I am always on my job. Oh, you're back.
Thank you so much, Representative Crockett. Now let me recognize Representative Sean Casten from Illinois.
Again, I love Jasmine Crockett. I don't honestly want to blame Trump for being a racist. I don't think that's the epitome of my life, right? I think that there needs to be more conversation around actual policy. And she is sharing stories about what's actually happening. But what's the solution to it? Trump being a racist, okay, that can be polled well. I don't think that when people are polled for the top 10 issues that Trump being a racist is going to be the top thing over the economy, over healthcare, over gas prices, over affordable housing, over generational wealth, over whatever, right? I don't think that. So I think that I believe if we kind of switch up the narrative a bit, if we get to a point of actually talking about something that is going to move people forward and actually be constructive in their protest and in their anger and their passion, then we'll get to a better place in America. But just blaming the other side for being racist, I don't think that's going to move the needle anymore. Respectfully.
Illinois.